Friday, February 14th, Munich. Marco Rubio finishes speaking. The room rises, standing ovation, sustained applause. From the same European officials who spent the previous 48 hours furious at what he said. That contradiction is the story, not the speech, the applause. Because what Rubio said was not new American policy. It was American policy without the costume, and Europe gave it a standing ovation anyway. This is the Munich verdict, and this is the sense we make of it. Rubio's speech was not a diplomatic address. It was a power statement, stripped of the traditional language. No democracy promotion, no human rights framework, no multilateral mission, raw calculation. America's decline must be reversed. Everyone else gets behind that project, or gets out of the way. Compare this to the previous 16 years. Obama, Biden. The language was different. Democracy, rules-based order, partnership. The goals were identical. American primacy, European dependency, military subordination. The neoliberals sold the empire as a moral project. Rubio simply removed the sales pitch. This is not a new American foreign policy. This is the first honest American foreign policy in 2 decades. And honesty, it turns out, is the one thing the European establishment cannot tolerate. Kaja Kallas was visibly unsettled. Von der Leyen chose her words carefully. The European leadership class did not object to the content. They objected to the tone. They were not told they are partners in a moral crusade. They were told they are expected to contribute to an American-centered project. The distinction matters enormously to people whose political legitimacy depends on not appearing to be anyone's subordinate. Friedrich Merz understood the assignment differently. Germany will become Europe's strongest military power. His words, not a promise, a declaration. This is the European response to Rubio's bluntness, not rejection, adaptation. If America wants European contribution, Europe will build the capacity to contribute on its own terms. Eventually. Then there were the others, Gavin Newsom, Hillary Clinton, in Munich, without portfolio, without office. Their presence was a message directed entirely at European elites. 3 years. Hold on, the soft touch will return. We will call you partners again. We will give you the moral framework you need to explain your subordination to your own voters. Just wait. This is the most revealing detail of Munich 2026. The out-of-power American faction flying to Bavaria to reassure European elites that the uncomfortable honesty is temporary. That is not an act of opposition politics. That is imperial management of a restless province. Rewind to February 2022. 8 days before the invasion, Munich was euphoric. The West was unified. The mission was clear. 4 years later, the front has not moved decisively. European industry is contracting. Energy costs have restructured the continental economy. The word winning is repeated with the intensity of people who need to believe it. The maps do not lie. Russia controls more Ukrainian territory today than when the invasion began. The coalition of 2022 is fractured. The ammunition pipelines are inconsistent, and the political will in Washington has shifted from victory to exit. Munich 2026 did not discuss how Ukraine wins. It discussed how the West manages not losing. That is a different conference, with a different psychology. The edginess in that room was not the tension of people planning victory. It was the tension of people recalculating exposure. One actor in Munich was not edgy. Wang, China's foreign minister, calm, precise. He met Rubio, he met Ukrainian officials, he offered humanitarian aid to Kiev. Beijing spent 2 years being accused of arming Russia. Now it offers aid to the other side. The positioning is not subtle. China wants a seat at the settlement table. It was excluded from building. Here is what Munich 2026 actually produced. 3 simultaneous repositioning moves, America declaring its terms openly for the first time. Europe scrambling to build capacity it should have built 30 years ago. China inserting itself into a peace process it had no role in starting. None of these moves are coordinated. All of them are rational. That combination is what makes the next 18 months genuinely unpredictable. The surface story of Munich 2026 is a speech and a standing ovation. The structural story is this. The post-1945 transatlantic bargain, American security guarantee in exchange for European political alignment, is being renegotiated openly for the first time. America is raising the price. Europe is deciding whether to pay or to build an alternative. China is watching both and preparing to offer a third option. Rubio did not create this moment. He revealed it. The mask that made the arrangement palatable to European publics is gone. What remains is the arrangement itself. And the question, Munich 2026 could not answer, because no one in that room had the authority to answer it, is whether Europe can survive the transition from managed dependency to strategic autonomy before the next crisis arrives. The historical parallel is not 1938. Everyone reaches for 1938. The real parallel is 1956. Suez. Britain and France discover, mid-operation, that the American umbrella has conditions, that imperial protection is transactional, that the moral language was always cover for power. They adjust, painfully. Over a decade, Europe is entering its Suez Moment. The adjustment will not be faster. The prediction. By Q3 2026, the Geneva process collapses. Not because Trump walks away, because Moscow walks away. A Germany openly declaring military dominance of Europe is not a negotiating signal to Russia. It is an existential one. The Kremlin does not forget what German military primacy produced the last time. It does not negotiate with that trajectory. It responds to it. And Europe, still dependent, still rearming, still waiting for Newsom, will not be ready for that response. Rubio told the truth in Munich. The empire has no intention of retreating. Europe applauded because the alternative, being told the empire is leaving, is worse. That is not an alliance. That is a protection racket with good branding. And the branding just got stripped away. This is the grand brief. And this is the sense we make of the chaos.